Friday news dump, Holden, Bobby Gomes, Tambo, and it's Friday here with, a lot of injury news as we always do. It looks like the COVID thing's starting to pop up. It's ugly head again. The Browns got some issues there. The Broncos now without their offensive coordinator in all likelihood. They had some players on the COVID list too. So it's starting to get around here, and it doesn't surprise me. I mean, at some point in time, we kind of knew that it was still going to be an issue here this season. So we'll get into that too. And hello, gentlemen. Bobby Gomes, what's going on there in the Boston area? How are you feeling? And what are some of the big injuries that you think we need to talk about this week? Anything really stand out, whether it be Chubb or any of these other big names?
Yeah, everything's going good in Boston. Starting to get dark a little earlier now.
Yeah.
So is what it is. It's kind of the worst part about this city. Not a lot of sunlight, but yeah, I don't know. In terms of injuries, the Chubb news is very significant. And then Chase Claypool as well. I think we kind of just got that. Those are the two main things, and looking forward to a good slate.
Okay. What do you got here, Tambo? How you feeling, buddy?
Yeah, always feeling good. Happy to be here. Like you say, gentleman. And we're here on another Friday, a nice news dump. Love chatting with you guys. Missed the last one. I do apologize. So happy to be back. Bring the fire. A lot of injuries, like you said, a lot to talk about, a lot of things going on within the league this week. And I think some good ones. I think the Chubb one is probably one of the better ones to start with, because obviously with all the news of everybody that's out there, it's Dearness Johnson round 2 looked pretty good the first time. But I think this time I want to, throw back to you, I guess, what your guys' thoughts are, because I was talking last night with JT Hayes, and he was bringing it up and just talking in general about New England, Belichick, what he likes to do. Doesn't he just stack the box and say, Baker, go ahead, try it with your guys? You've got Landry, DPJ, but I don't know. It's tough to make something of. Obviously, he's going to be very popular with that price tag and the injuries that the Browns have there.
All right, so let me just give some context to this, because Nick Chubb is out. You've also got Demetric Felton out and John Kelly out. So they are very, very thin at running back. We saw Johnson come in, have a 100-plus yard performance against a Denver defense that was missing all their inside linebackers. But now they go up against the Patriots. And, Bobby, I think you could speak to this. The Patriots run, if there's one thing I think you could do, I think you can run on them. So with Chubb out, like Dearness Johnson, 4.7 on DK off the top of my head. How is he? I mean, don't you have to kind of plug him in there just for some salary relief? I know he's going to be popular, but can we eat some chalk there, or is it better just to fade it?
I think he's the first guy in cash games. Makes a lot of sense there. In terms of tournaments, we have a ton of running backs that you can play on the slate. So spreading out your exposure and basically trying to decide what you want to do with Johnson is going to be very important. Probably the most important decision point and building block in terms of your construction. So yeah, for me right now, I'm probably playing him, but I probably play him at the field and then kind of go overweight in spots where I think are good relative to, I don't know, just other chalk or price ranges that I think that he can be beat, or just not play, just in lineups that I don't have him, and I'll just be differentiated. But yeah, I don't know. In terms of playing him, yeah, right now, just at the field, probably.
Okay. Hey, Tambo. So I want to make sure I got Jonathan Taylor and another big running back in this week, whether it be Najee or somebody else, right? Yeah. What's your thoughts on plugging Johnson in there? Because it's his backfield, man. The guy is talented too.
He is good. I said this. I was thinking about even at the trade deadline if there was going to be any opportunity, because obviously with Hunt on IR, but Hunt coming back will be there. Chubb is incredible. They utilize him just as much. So it's hard for Johnson to get touches. I think he's going to try again to make the most of his opportunity. But to Bobby's point, in large field tournaments, we've got 11 or 12 backs that I can name right off the top. You mentioned a couple more right there. There's Aaron Jones down at 6,900. There's Eckler in a good matchup against Minnesota. There's Cook on the opposite side of that matchup, supposedly going to be playing this week. No word from the NFL there yet. We'll keep an eye on that. But I think in general, there's so many backs to play, even at the same price tag. I know today it came up, Zach Moss, questionable for this week for Buffalo in what hopefully is a bounce back spot. Geez, we've been trying to make these Bills work what seems like every week. And last week was an embarrassment, much like the Ravens last night on Thursday Night Football. But if Zach Moss is out, you got Singletary at that same price in what's probably a blowout spot, or a chance that there at least could be a blowout there for Buffalo bouncing back. So I think there's a lot of other ways to go in large field tournaments, and not just to get off the chalk because of him. We've got that show on Sunday here at RPS. But I think if you look at just in general from lineup construction, to your point, Holden, get Jonathan Taylor, get Najee, then just leave it or go to a cheaper guy down at the bottom. There's ways that you can build differently without having him in there. So I don't need to be all in on him or anything like that as of right now.
Settle down on Zach Moss. We'll get to him in a couple of minutes. We do have some breaking news. Now, a lot of you watch this on tape delay, so that's fine. Alvin Kamara officially out. He is out against the Titans. So, boys, let's talk about this. Tambo, I'll start with you. Mark Ingram, is he in the circle of trust or is it move on?
Now, another tournament guy you could use. It's Simeon. We saw today got named as the quarterback. Taysom's back. He got some snaps last week. He got in there. I hate that team in general. I said this last night. Well, it's so bad. It's so hard to get right. I think this is one of those spots, so Holden, where if you look back, just a couple weeks back when Ridley had the stuff going on and everyone goes to find the next guy. And it's like, is it Zacchaeus? Is it going to be Gage? Does it mean Pitts now? But realistically, what it did is it just made that team that much worse. And we're already talking about Simeon and the Saints here. So I think Tennessee defense could be the play. I think they're going to be popular too. And there's ways you can get off of that. But just in general, I don't always think it's the next man up in this situation. Kamara was a good play if he was in, but we didn't expect it. And now it's official. Yeah,
earlier today, I bet the under 21 team total on the Saints. They're going to have some trouble in my estimation. Simeon and no Kamara. Hey, Bobby, how you want to handle this, buddy? What's your thoughts on Mark Ingram and where else, what do you think about Kamara being out in that whole offense?
Yeah, thoughts on Ingram. Obviously, we're adding more value at running back to the slate. I don't mind spending up even more now and maybe like getting off Dearness would make a ton of sense, right? He's at 4,700. You have all these spots around him where there's value. Like we can talk about Najee, Zeke, Eckler, Fournette. Like these guys are all going to they're all in good spots or pay up options. It's a way to differentiate construction. I don't mind going to those guys. If you want to play Ingram, like I'm not going to play Ingram, but he's at 4,500. Like he's right underneath Dearness. I don't think he's going to see nearly the same amount of usage as Dearness or be as productive with it. It's definitely hard to tell in terms of that offense, like where they're going to go. Dearness is definitely a safer play. He's the cash play. Outside of that, in terms of Ingram, like I like spending up at running back on this slate. I'll tell you that much.
You like that?
Let me hop in for 2 seconds there. Cause I was just going to make a point on that. And then Bobby proved it right there. It's not saying it's wrong, just bringing up a point. Cause this show is all about the news and application. And for me, one of the thoughts is because of how worrisome people are about some of these cheaper running backs and worried about ownership with them and all of that. I'm just adding a point is that I think most people will pay up for at least 2 running backs this week and then put in Dearness or whoever their cheap guy is that they choose. So if you wanted to go away from that, either go 3 expensive backs or go 1 expensive back and 1 cheapie and then do something else with the other spot, whether it's wide receiver, tight end within stacks. There is a lot of tight ends in play this week, I think, with their quarterback. So just a thought on overall lineup construction and what's likely to be common this week.
You know what, guys? Bobby, you brought up a good point here. It's like Dearness Johnson or Mark Ingram. I just feel like the Saints are screwed, man. He might get some volume, but they're facing a really good Titans defense. They're red hot with a shitty quarterback, and now Mark Ingram's in there. You tell me how you. I don't know if I can trust the guy, buddy. Can you sell me on him?
Yeah, the paying up and not playing the low value running backs is probably the differentiated build, and that's where I'm saying you kind of have to go, or just thinking about in terms of tournament construction where I would kind of lean, just because all that ownership is going to get sucked up into Dearness. And Ingram, I don't think he's a great running back. I don't trust the situation. That's pretty much it. How I'm approaching it right now.
Okay.
One more guy, Holden, Deontay Harris, just a flyer, a one-off. If you wanted to go there, 7 and 8 targets the last 2 weeks. He's 4,000. And here's a prime example in tournament construction that people don't do enough of is you were going to use Ingram in your flex as one of those cheap running backs at 4,500. Use Deontay Harris instead. Say that they're down. Simeon found him a bunch last week, hit him 8 times, and that saves you $500, gets you a completely different build. And how is he that much different than Ingram? You say, oh, Ingram's a running back, he's going to get the guaranteed stuff. Well, if they're down 3 touchdowns, there might not be any guaranteed runs, and it might be besides on certain downs. But you know what I mean? I think then Deontay Harris could be valuable for $500 less.
Simeon loved Harris last week too.
I played him last week
over and over again.
Did he score though? I don't even remember what he did because I know I had some. I just don't remember if he did anything.
I think it was 8 for like 57 or something like
that.
I'll look it up. We would take it, is what I'm saying. I know he's got I believe he's got a Q tag himself right now, but I don't expect him to miss. And it was six receptions on 8 targets for 52 yards. Not too bad. And then 2 of them were red zone targets. So I'll take that from him. Like I said, it's just an example though, where again, everyone plugs in a cheap running back. This could be a spot where you not only save $500, but who cares that he's a wide receiver versus a running back if it sets up for them to be down in the game.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It really is right now with these cheap guys that are popping up. So we always get all this, don't we? This is why we do the news dump. Hit the like button. That would be a wonderful thing to do. We would appreciate that. We've got 11 right now. And sure, by the end of time, by the time this is all over, even if you're not watching this live, hit it on the way out. Let's do it. We're doing the news dump for you guys. All right, news. Next one. Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, Rondell Moore, all game time decisions. So, Bobby, I'll start with you on this one. Is this just an avoid? Or if Hopkins is out, maybe we go to Christian Kirk. If Moore is out and Hopkins is out, what do we do? I'm not playing Kyler Murray with an ankle injury. I'm just not doing it.
Yeah, right now I'm avoiding. I think it makes the most sense. They do have a 27 implied team total, and a lot of people are going to avoid. These 4 o'clock games, Green Bay Packers, that's another game people are going to avoid. I think the totals are pretty good. Like Green Bay,
like that one.
Seattle 51. Then you hit on, we're talking about Arizona and Carolina 49.5. Like these games aren't going to be played relative to ownership. So getting like some exposure in these games would make a ton of sense. If Kyler's playing, like, and if you want to backload and leaving yourself equity in terms of backloading, I think it would make for a good opportunity on this slate just to leverage ownership. Are people not going to play Kyler? Are they not going to play Aaron Rodgers? Are they not going to play Russell Wilson? Like they're not hitting projections. So likelihood is they're not going to play them. And that's the way you can kind of leverage the field. In terms of optimal construction, it seems like all the quarterbacks are going at 1 o'clock. So I would be more inclined to have some late swap equity.
Yeah, Tambo, I think he's bringing up some good points here. So let's continue this. With those late game, I love Rodgers to Adams this week, as a matter of fact, Bobby, and I hope that Adams is going to be popular, right? We know Adams is going to be popular, but let's get into this one, Tambo. What do we want to do with the Cards right now? Nothing.
Yeah, I'm not very interested in any of them, to be honest. Okay. Even James Conner, I know, he had a 40-point game and broke the slate or whatever, but I'm happy to miss out on those weeks and go on to the next week, and maybe people go back to it and expect the same thing. The other thing about Kyler is expensive, and that, again, you can pay up for probability. I talk about it all the time, where you're buying in at him at 8,000 when nobody's really on him for the whole slate. But then you got to think about what you're overlooking. Josh Allen, Brady, Herbert, Rodgers, Dak, love all those guys right after him. And I think they've got just as good of a chance or better. And even with the slight ownership bump that they'll have in comparison, I don't think I need to go that route. Obviously, if you're completely dead, way behind, whatever, you can do whatever you want with your lineups, like to Bobby's point, in the afternoon with the late swap equity, but not someone I'm on. And usually they're an avoid anyway, because try getting Kyler right with all those receivers. You basically have to go all in with Hopkins and just hope that it's Hopkins week. Otherwise, you're trying to go between Rondale Moore, AJ Green, Chase Edmonds, James Conner. It's just so hard to get that team right. So it's not worth for me to bury a bunch of lineups into that personally. Okay.
I got you there. James Conner, Bobby, as long as we're on the Cardinals. Meh.
No, I'm not chasing a James Conner game. I had Chase Edmonds last week, James Robinson the week before, Miles Sanders the week before that. I really hit the running back as bad as you could run it running back in the 4 o'clock slate. I've run the last 3 weeks. So I'm definitely not chasing James Conner.
Stick a fork in him. Tambo, Seahawks, Packers, Russell Wilson's coming back. Chris Carson is a game time decision. If Chris Carson is back, is he an option? And I'll just say this about Russell Wilson. There is no way in hell I'm playing him. I just cannot do it. Coming off, he's got a pin in his foot. This team already likes to run a ton. Why am I messing with Russell Wilson this week? And what do you think about Carson?
Yeah, I personally won't be messing with Russell Wilson. I like the other side plenty more if Aaron Rodgers is back, as we suspect he will be. Obviously, that's how you can go on with Adams at high ownership. You just put him with his quarterback, put some other guys within that game. I don't hate taking a receiver. I don't, think that, Tyler Lockett, I think is 6,700 or something. I think there's an opportunity there. Maybe Everett at tight end, just something to make it a little bit easier to ease Russ back in. But I think that game could have points. And so, it's one way or the other. So I'm willing to put some lineups into that where I think it's either going to be sort of that, not division, the battle back and forth between the two of them, Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, and like a hard fought game, or it just goes crazy and all of a sudden they both start showing out and we get some points on both sides. In that case, I'd still want to be on the Rodgers side. Not really interested in Carson either. Definitely not interested in Alex Collins if Carson's out, or in, don't care. Not playing that guy ever.
Okay. Oh boy. What's our next big story here? Gronk and AB are out. Godwin, let's see here. He practiced a little bit. He was running in place. He is limited. Now, Dr. David Chow, who I trust the most, he was the Chargers team doctor, says even if the guy plays, he's not going to be effective. That this is just an injury that's not going to be working out for him. So, Tambo, we can go to you first on this one. Mike Evans season, is that what we're just looking at? Ty Johnson, what do you want to do there? Lenny Fournette?
Yeah, all of them. I actually like the Tampa Bay side quite a bit. Got to wait and see, like you mentioned with the Godwin stuff. That's what we're talking about. So it's going to be what it comes down to game time. But I already like Brady. I've talked about this plenty of times, even on this very show. He's this year. I call him this year's Aaron Rodgers. And what I mean by that, for those watching for the first time, is Aaron Rodgers basically came in last year, said, I'm winning the MVP. I'm doing my thing. I'm going to show out, do what's up. Here's all the touchdowns. I'm just going to throw it, even to his running backs last year. And that's even what we've seen with Brady. So you can stack him with Fournette. The target tree gets a little bit tighter the more guys that are out. AB, Gronk, etc. If they're out, with, like we know Gronk is, suspect AB is, maybe Godwin, it gets even easier to stack for DFS, which usually it's tougher with Brady because you have to go across all of those guys and who it's going to be. So I mentioned it today on sort of the RPS site, just some stuff we go through there and some stacks charts. There's some new guys in town, Perryman, Fells. If they get involved, so be it. I'm not trying to mess with that. It's too early, too soon. I'm going to go to the guys we know, Mike Evans, Fournette, down the board from there. And then definitely Tyler Johnson, especially if those other guys are out. Like I say all the time, not just the nice first name. I think he's a good playmaker. I think he's a good play, and he's cheap this week. So you'll just never get enough ownership for it to matter. And I think, again, look at when you're going down to a cheap guy, look for the guy with a good quarterback, a good team attached, and all they do is throw. It doesn't matter if they're up 3 touchdowns or not, they throw. So I'm in on that stack and that whole side of the game.
Bobby, what's your take here on the Bucs with Godwin, at the very least, if he plays limited?
Yeah, Bucks are my favorite stack on the slate. 30 implied team total. There's uncertainty there in terms of he can spread it around so much. Like who's going to get the ball? Obviously, you're taking Brown out, you're taking Gronk out if they don't play, and then from there, like Braid, OJ Howard, ancillary guys. Gio's down at 4-3, like him. I know Leonard Fournette's been getting the pass down work, but there's enough ways you can go in MME where you can kind of get allocations to all these guys. If you build your groups thoughtfully, you can kind of make sure you hit on guys that leverage other salary positions and groups that leverage other salary positions. So I don't mind. My favorite guy, I think, would be Tyler Johnson. Like I think he gets an immediate bump, but yeah, the main guys, and then there's ancillary pieces that if you're playing multiple lineups, you should get an allocation to. Guys like Braid, OJ Howard, Gio, if you're playing 150.
All right, if you're just joining the show, the big news live is that Alvin Kamara is out. If you get a second, give it a like and a subscribe if you haven't already. That would be wonderful too. Hey, Bobby, let's talk about a tackle though, a left tackle. Tyron Smith's out. So again, and that really hurt them last week against Denver, believe it or not. I mean, Denver actually had some success getting to Dak, or at least rushing him. So does this affect anything with the Cowboys this week? I mean, I expect them to come out guns blazing, beating the shit out of anybody's in front of them, but this is also a really big injury.
Yeah, so there's a lot of flop lag there. Amari Cooper and Zeke were like pretty much hitting every projection set last week, and they totally busted. Don't mind going back to them. Michael Gallup at 4K, I think he's a good play. I like Dak at 6'9". I think he's very interesting. He's one of the quarterbacks I'm looking at. CD Lamb, 7K, like him. Cooper, 6'2". People are not going to want – Cooper was 5'7" last week. Now he's 6'2". He busted for everyone at 5'7". I don't mind playing Cooper. Like he's 500 more now. Like people aren't going to play him. I can say that much. I don't mind going right to Cooper. I don't mind going back to Zeke. Don't mind going back to Lamb. In terms of running it back in this game, like I don't hate the Atlanta side. Like I hate their defense. It's just tough. Kyle Pitts has been playing well though. I know he was someone that a lot of people had an issue with trying to land earlier in the year, but I don't mind Kyle Pitts at all either.
Ambo, give me the rundown on the Cowboys, but first, your thoughts on Smith being out at left tackle.
Yeah, doesn't matter to me. I'm still going to this stack. I actually like both sides of it. Bobby just named the whole Dallas side, and I agree with him. I think they're all in play. Dak had to shake off the rust last week. I was big on him. I was trying to make it work. I was talking about the Dak stack attack. It just didn't happen. And, he throws 2 garbage time touchdowns to Malik Turner just to show he can still do it. Again, the defense had let off quite a bit at that point, I think, but we know Dak's got it in him. He's got a good squad there. I love the Amari Cooper call. Price going up $500 after doing nothing and even looking kind of limped up, a little bit gimpy down the stretch. So people might not go back there. And I think you can definitely do it. I also think Schultz at tight end, who we didn't mention, I think he's in play with that stack. And then I actually like the other side. Call me crazy, but I think with the one spot, here's the thing. Atlanta surprised last week, got themselves a nice win, came out, had a good game. At the same time, Dallas got destroyed by Teddy Bridgewater. What if both worlds collide? Atlanta stays good for a week. Dallas D stays terrible for a week. And now we've got ourselves a nice little game stack. And the Atlanta side is pretty easy to stack up as well. With Ridley still out and doing, whatever he's got going on, wish him the best. But obviously you've got a little bit easier to stack now. Pitts, Gage, Olamide Zaccheaus. You can put Cordarrelle Patterson there for sure. So there's your stack with that side. And then you run it back with one of the Dallas guys or multiple. I'm in on this, and it's a little off the board, I think, for what most people are talking about this week. I think it makes for a good tournament play.
Tambo, I got another offensive line thing. The Broncos were without 40% of their offensive line. They're without Garrett Bowles, and now Bobby Massey is out. So they're taking on Philadelphia. On the Philadelphia side, it looks like all systems are go, but this is more of a game thing. Is there any piece of this game that interests you on either side, or is it just the defenses? Because I love the defenses.
I like the Philly D. I like to see Teddy Bridgewater go back to who he probably actually is, and we could see that this week. I think at 2,600, the Titans, who we talked about earlier, will be extremely popular by the time we get to Sunday with the Kamara news, with Semien, with everything we talked about. I don't hate it. But when they get extremely popular like that, I look for other options. I think for $100 more, you can move to the Philadelphia defense here against Teddy Bridgewater, likely going back to what we would expect from him, not the week that we just talked, the aforementioned game against the Cowboys. The other spot for, in that game, I just think you wish it could happen, but you're the Denver guy, Holden. You tell me the other guy that's not going to be there is not a player, but actually an offensive coordinator, Shermer.
That might be a good thing.
We were saying, maybe is it free Javonte time? I know we talked a little off air, but we can talk on air. What about Javonte? Because you talked about his stats, all those categories that he's crushing. You verified there is a decent enough sample size there to actually go off of those stats, but could it be his time, or what are you hearing out of the Denver camps?
All right, so here, going on there. He's tied for second. He's the second running back. Gordon's getting more touches. He's tied for second in broken tackles and missed tackles with 15. That's second in the NFL at his limited time. He's first in yards after contact. He's fourth in rushing yards over expected. He's first in outside runs. He's averaging 9.1 yards per carry. But I bet the shit out of the under in this game, man. Honestly, I mean, if you want to say like Tim Patrick or Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton, maybe one of those guys. And I think Melvin Gordon could fall in the box. I just think there's no ceiling there. I'm not going with it, guys. I can't. If Surtain is out, maybe why bother? You know what? Fuck it. I don't even know why I brought it up, Bobby. This is just a horrible game for fantasy.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad game. I like Tambo's calling the Eagles D. I would have interest there. I think that's an interesting pivot. But in terms of this game overall, people have been trying to make Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon work all year. They were interesting last week. If you were playing those guys, you should have been playing them last week. Melvin Gordon had been playing better. I have no interest on the Broncos side and pretty much none on the Eagles.
All right, we'll get out of this then. Let's go on to a game that's more important. Boom. Let me get back up here. Jamal Williams is out against the Steelers. Is this a DeAndre Swift week, or is this another game, Bobby, where we just want to avoid all offense?
I like DeAndre Swift. I think he's interesting. I think Pittsburgh stacks are interesting, and DeAndre Swift makes for a good run back. I don't like to force run backs. We're talking about the Detroit Lions. What's their implied team total? 17. Do we really want to go there? But we know the usage is going to be with a guy like DeAndre Swift. So if you want to go to Swift, I know the Pittsburgh run defense is good. I wouldn't hate it. On the other side of the game, really like Najee Harris. I think he's in a really good spot. He's one of those guys Tambo hit off the top. I think he's fantastic running back, and this Lions defense is atrocious. So.
What about Claypool being out? Is it just Deontay Johnson all the time?
I love Deontay too. That's the thing. People aren't going to pay down a quarterback. A lot of people are going to pay up. I don't play Ben. I think you could play Ben here. You could make the case that you could play Ben on the slate in large field leagues. Yeah, everyone's going to pay up at QB, and it's a way to differentiate your stack, especially when people aren't going to pay down.
Tambo, you say, hey, dude, Claypool's out. Talk to me about Claypool, what that does for the Steelers offense. And then over on the Lions side, it looks like it's a Swift week now.
Yeah, I actually like a little bit of this game because I had that same take with JT Hayes last night, Bobby. I said it's disgusting, and I know JT Hayes is going to make fun of me, but I said I think you could actually play Ben this week, especially if Claypool's officially ruled out. Because don't forget about Pat Freiermuth. You got him there. You got Deontay and you got Najee. That's it. That's all I need to go to. Again, there's James, there's other guys that can steal the thunder for sure, but it makes it easier for me to stack up and just play those guys. On the Detroit side, also too, Holden, I think it came out today. I'm not sure if it's official yet, but it sounds like Detroit could have Taylor Decker coming back in. That's their left tackle. And that would possibly help out and keep it a bit of a game. He's obviously one of the best in the league. And again, Goff is bad. Detroit is bad, but Swift is always okay as a run back. I think Hawkinson is an option now down to 5,500 against this Pittsburgh squad where he actually can get him, has a bit of a floor and could have a bit of a ceiling if we get the game going back and forth. Look, if you're going to play Ben, you already know what road you're going down. It's a scary one. If you're expecting a ceiling enough to win a tournament with those lineups, you're going to need Detroit to show up and things to happen on the other side. And I think you're going to have Swift or Hawkinson in there, not both, but one of the two. Again, usually I say in spots like that, you don't need to run it back, but I think to get a full ceiling outcome out of those guys, the way they just rack up PPR points out for Deontay and Najee, I think you want to have a full, at least a 2-1, 3-1 with Ben on the other side.
Guys, before we continue, and ladies, hit the like button. That'd be great. Let's talk about our Sunday programming here because I'm going to give the code if people still want to get in. Tambo, talk about your show coming up Sunday mornings. Because you start things off with the boys. AP,
yeah, I love Sunday morning, man. We call it Off the Chalk. It's pretty simple. I think it's one of the best shows out there. It kicks it off early. It's all of sort of the final plays of the week. We've got all the news Saturday night. All the Shefty bombs have come out. We're ready to go. It's 8:45 Eastern, so grab your coffee and come out, but it's free. It's right here on YouTube, same channel. Subscribe in the corner if you guys haven't already. It's that big red button in the bottom right. Hit subscribe, like this video, and then definitely join us for Sunday. It's going to be myself, JT Hayes, who I've talked about a couple times, and then AP. We go through, get the ball rolling, and then after that, we've got the Morning Wood with Holden, who's here with us now, and then, of course, Big T and Hoop, who it seems like every other week are winning $100,000 plus, and we love to see it. So the members take on the same. If you guys haven't joined, code RPS Heater 25, Holden mentioned it, but hop on board, get in the Discord. You get our core plays, tier plays, amongst a million other things and all other sports on top of that.
Yep, and then, like you said, we got the Wood Show and with me, Big T and Hoop. And then right after that, we go up to lock about an hour and 15 minutes before lock, me and JSU. And then JJ hops on from the bet side. And don't forget Bobby. Bobby's on Saturday night. But what about Sunday night, Bobby? I know you do a show with Mangone and Rubio.
I'm on Saturday night too. I think Saturday night is probably one of the best shows you're going to watch on the site, to be perfectly honest. Just my opinion. I know I'm on it, so I'm definitely biased, but we get all the news at that point, and I'm ready to rock and roll. So, yeah, I like the Saturday Night Millie show. Me, DC, Snyder, a lot of winners been given out on that show. Got to be watching that show. If you're watching that show, you're winning money this year in NFL DFS. I can tell you that much. Outside of that, yeah, basically the showdown shows. Showdown show for me, like just to learn from Rubio Dimes. I think Rubio's it's an absolutely fantastic showdown player. So it's good to get on there, talk to him, talk to Mangone. Really like getting on that show as well Sunday nights.
All right. And if you want to check out any of our premium shows or the guys' cores, the playbook from Hoop, RPS Heater 25, RPS Heater 25, 25% off your first payment on a monthly plan. Let's get back into the news here. Bobby Gomes, Mr. Boston, Ramondre Stevenson, concussion. He might not play. Damian Harris, concussion. He might not play. Brandon Bolden and JJ Taylor are left. I don't mind Bolden this week. Talk me off of Brandon Bolden.
Yeah, I don't mind Bolden. Like, he does it in the passing game. He does it in the running game. They utilize him enough to where, like, at 4-4, we're talking, there's a ton of running backs on this slate. Like, you can play a ton of backs. 4-4 for Bolden, I think he makes sense. I wouldn't play JJ Taylor. But going to Bolden, like, yeah, I could see myself doing that, especially with everyone just going to play Dearness Johnson. But like I said, I want to pay up at the running back position this week. I think that's going to be the way I'm going to kind of get off chalk, play 3 running backs when I know people are going to pay down for D'Ernest.
Okay. D'Ernest Johnson. Mr. Tambo, what are we doing over on this game with the Patriots?
Same thing I was doing in 2016,
Avoid.
17, 18, 19, not messing around with that backfield because it's insanity trying to predict that. I have no clue why you would even bother. There's about 15 other running backs.
I can give you $1 million reason why to bother. Uncertainty is leverageable in DFS, especially tournaments.
Well, thanks, Tips. I appreciate it. No, I'm just saying, it's like we talk about this every week. If you want to try and figure it out, you're right. That's the reason to do so, but it just makes it so challenging.
The problem is everyone just plays projections and you have to deviate at some point. Like you have to differentiate the construction. You have to differentiate your build. Bolden, if I end up playing 150, I don't know what I'm likely playing at this point, but I would have some allocation of Bolden at 4-4. Like he would just make sense because in his range of outcomes, he can beat guys that are in his range, right? So like not playing him is just foolish, even though like the Cleveland Browns, they have a good run D, but Patriots have a good run D. Everyone's going to play D'Ernest. Why not just take what's the range of outcomes that Bolden's not a great play, right? But can he hang in that situation? Like there is a range where he does win matched up versus D'Ernest Johnson.
He can catch passes too, can't he?
Catch passes in the scoring. He fits the scoring system. I don't mind Bolden at all. Yeah.
He's definitely an uncomfortable roster, but sometimes you gotta roster uncomfortable guys. I mean, it's just that simple. Bobby Gomes, we'll go to you first on well, you know what? Let me go back to Tambo because he was talking about Zach Moss earlier. So Zach Moss, questionable if he's back. If he's not, handle that one more time real quick. And then Dawson Knox is supposed to come back. He's missed the last 2 weeks. I love me some Dawson Knox. And I think this really hurts Cole Beasley, who I've liked a couple of last 2 weeks because he's been getting all those little dump offs. So what's your thought on Moss again and Dawson Knox?
Just on the Moss piece, I was going to say, because I mentioned it earlier, but Singletary is fine. Again, not someone I'm high on this week, but I think if Moss was out, it would at least clean that up a little bit. And like I said, I expect Buffalo to bounce back. I like Josh Allen this week. We're now in 2021. I think people just go right back to the well. They don't care what happened last week or the week before with Josh Allen. They'll just go back and play him again. But to your point, they're holding a couple things. One, I think there's ways to get unique with them. I think the guy for me actually is Emmanuel Sanders. I like him. He's still cheap. I think almost like Bobby mentioned earlier with the Amari Cooper situation, we could have that right here with him. Again, of course, you can go to Diggs. You can get Knox involved if he's back for sure. Favorite target of Allen's, ones that he's utilized quite often, to be honest. So I have no problem going to all these guys. I definitely think the Bills bounce back in a big way this week.
Bobby Gomes, what do you got here, buddy?
Yeah, Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley. I know Dawson kind of hurts Cole Beasley. Always fits the scoring system. Probably in terms of playing him, I still don't mind playing Cole, especially with Josh Allen stacks. Like Josh Allen's going to be the median projection QB. Everyone's going to play him. If people are going to stay off Cole because Dawson Knox is back, I wouldn't mind having exposure to Cole Beasley. And then paying up to Diggs. Diggs is very good. Tough to run it back with this Jets game. Probably wouldn't be doing that, but I don't know. I like Diggs. I like the Bills in general. I think they're a really good stack. I think a lot of people are going to go there, though.
A lot of people are going to go there. Okay, let's go right back to you with this. James Robinson, questionable. If he plays, he gets most of the work. Do you trust him, Bobby Gomes? It's been good this year.
So he hurt me 2 weeks ago, pretty bad in that Seattle game. Yeah, I don't mind going back to James Robinson if we know he's going to get the full workload. It is a 1:00 game, so we'll have that news. And he's not going to be owned. He'd be a differentiated running back in terms of paying up when everyone's going to play these 4K running backs. The majority are going to play at least one.
What do you think, Tambo?
Interesting pivot in that range just because of who's around him, right? If people are going to play James Conner, who I didn't like, and Fournette's there, like I said, I think there's ways you can play him even with Brady. But I think Carlos Hyde is still good to go too. It is Jacksonville. They could or should be down against Indy. I think Indy can crush here. So I'm not as high on him. I wouldn't be as high on him in that range. I'd rather probably just find the money to pay up further or go down to some of those cheaper options that we already talked about.
Okay. I got nothing else for you boys as far as news goes. So I think we did a wonderful job here. Again, like this video, subscribe, and then let's see. We got Julio's question. Well, big deal. I mean, seriously, big deal with him. Well, let me ask you both just a question. Adrian Peterson, did he show you anything last week that makes him startable?
Not me.
Not
I have no interest in AP.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. That was simple. Wonderful. Helmet Head, great job behind the scenes. If you're watching this live, NBA Hardwood's coming up next. Then we'll do Up to Lock at 6 from 6 to whenever the heck JSU and Big T want. Hold on. I don't even know if JSU and Big T are on that show today. That might be is that you and me, Bobby Gomes? No, Tony and JSU are here.
I'm Thursday nights, me, you, and DC.
Yeah, we didn't have that show last night. All right. Helmet Head, get us out of here, dude.